Happy Thursday, everybody. Let's pull this up here. Let me get started. We already at the end of the week. Alright, beautiful people. Alright, y'all. Happy Thursday. Happy Thursday, everybody. Oh, see, think about that. Jeez. Chat thing happening again, y'all. Can't see it. Hold on. Let's start this over real quick. I'm about to end it because I can't see anything. Give me 1 second. Let's end this. I'll start it over. Leave. There we go. Sheesh. Okay. I hate when it does that. Okay. All right. Happy Thursday. It is July the 22nd, 2021, day 213 of year 3. I'm reading through the books of the Law and the Prophets under the 3-year consecutive day count, day 882. Yesterday we're reading Jeremiah 19, 20, and 21. And we're going to pick up in Fossilized Customs where we left off at yesterday on page 251. So let's go ahead and get started with the Shema. Remember, the Shema is found in Deuteronomy chapter 6. And we start at verse 3. Remember, read the whole entire chapter for its full context. People, hear, therefore, O Israel, and observe to do it, that it may be well with you, and that you may increase mightily, as Yahuwah, the Elohim of our fathers, has promised us, in a land that flows with milk and honey. Hear, O Israel, Yahuwah, our mighty one, he is one. And you shall love Yahuwah, your Elohim, with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might. And these words which I command you this day shall be in your heart. And you shall teach them diligently unto your children, and shall talk of them when you sit in your house, and when you walk by the way, when you lie down, and when you rise up. And you shall bind them for a sign upon your hand, and they shall be as frontlets between your eyes. And you shall write them upon the posts of your house and on your gates. And Yahuwah commanded us to do all these statutes, to fear Yahuwah, our mighty one, for our good always, that he might preserve us alive, as it is at this day. And it shall be our righteousness if we observe to do all these commandments before Yahuwah, our mighty one, as he has commanded us. All right, beautiful people. So let's go ahead and get started. Jeremiah chapter 19. Trina, hey girl, hey. What? What's wrong with this? Jeremiah's shattered jar. Levine blessings. Okay. This is what Yahuwah said to me. Go and buy a clay jar. Then ask some of the leaders of the people and the priests to follow you. Go out through the gate of broken pots to the garbage dump in the valley of Ben Hinnom and give them this message. Say to them, listen to this message from Yahuwah, you kings of Judah and citizens of Jerusalem. This is what Yahuwah, the God of heaven's armies, says, I will bring a terrible disaster on this place, and the ears of those who hear about it will ring. For Israel has forsaken me and turned this valley into a place of wickedness. The people burn incense to foreign gods, idols never before acknowledged by this generation, by their ancestors, or by the kings of Judah. They have filled this place with the blood of innocent children. They have built pagan shrines to Baal, and there they burn their sons as sacrifice to Baal. I have never commanded such a horrible deed. It never even crossed my mind to command such a thing. Remember, this is not the first time we heard Yahuwah say this, is it? Absolutely not. He said, giving up your sons and daughters for the sins of the unrighteous, they burnt children and offered their innocent children. Yahuwah just said, this place, they have filled this place with innocent blood. Why were they doing that? If we look a little bit further into what the other nations were actually doing, and you can actually go find some manuscripts of what the other nations were actually doing. They were actually sacrificing the innocent for the sins of the wicked. Yahuwah said, don't do that. I never even commanded such a thing. But I got to go ahead and throw it in here again, because this is exactly what they teach in the church. That a righteous man, or Yah is not a man, right? Clearly we know that. I said that wrong. They say Yah would offer his righteous son for the sins of the wicked people here on earth, right? That is, he would not say that. And he constantly, that's why if we don't read what he has originally said, it never even alerts us that this is wrong. This is not how Yah operates, right? But people cling to it like they draws cling to their waist. For Israel has forsaken me and turned this valley into a place of wickedness. The people burn incense to foreign gods, idols never before acknowledged by this generation, by their ancestors, or by the kings of Judah. And they have filled this place with the blood of innocent children. They have built pagan shrines to Baal, and there they burn their sons as sacrifices to Baal. I have never commanded such a horrible deed. It never even crossed my mind to command such a thing. So beware, for the time is coming, says Yahuwah, when this garbage dump will no longer be called Topheth or the valley of Ben Hinnom, but the valley of slaughter. For I will upset the careful plans of Judah and Jerusalem. I will allow the people to be slaughtered by invading armies, and I will leave their dead bodies as food for the vultures of the wild animals. I will reduce Jerusalem to ruins, making it a monument to their stupidity. All who pass by will be astonished and will grasp at the destruction they see there. I will see to it that your enemies lay siege to the city until all the food is gone. Then those trapped inside will eat their own sons and daughters and friends. They will be driven to utter despair. As these men watch you, Jeremiah, smash the jar you bought. Then say to them, this is what Yahuwah, the God of heaven's army, says. As this jar lies shattered, so I will shatter the people of Judah and Jerusalem beyond all hope of repair. They will bury the bodies here in Topheth, the garbage dump, until there is no more room for them. This is what I will do to this place and its people, says Yahuwah. I will cause this city to become defiled like Topheth. All the houses where you burn incense on the rooftop to your star gods, and where liquid offerings were poured out to your idols. Then Jeremiah returned from Topheth, the garbage dump, where he had delivered this message, and he stopped in front of the temple of Yahuwah. He said to the people there, this is what Yahuwah, the Lord of heaven's armies, the God of Israel, says. I will bring disaster upon this city and its surrounding towns, as I promised, because you have stubbornly refused to listen to me. Next chapter, Jeremiah chapter 20. Y'all, I've been up for a while. Now Pashur, son of Immer, the priest in charge of the temple of Yahuwah, heard what Jeremiah was prophesying. So he arrested Jeremiah the prophet and had him whipped and put in stocks at the Benjamin gate at Yahuwah's temple. The next day, when Pashur finally released him, Jeremiah said, Pashur, Yahuwah has changed your name. From now on, you are to be called the man who lives in terror. For this is what Yahuwah says. I will send terror upon you and all your friends, and you will watch as they are slaughtered by the swords of the enemy. I will hand the people of Judah over to the king of Babylon. He will take them captive to Babylon or run them through with a sword. And I will let your enemies plunder Jerusalem. All the famed treasures of the city, the precious jewels and gold and silver of your kings will be carried off to Babylon. As for you, Pashur, you and all your household will go as captives to Babylon. There you will die and be buried, you and all your friends to whom you prophesied that everything would be all right. Jeremiah's complaint. O Yahuwah, you misled me, and I allowed myself to be misled. You were stronger than I, and you overpowered me. Now I am mocked every day. Everyone laughs at me. When I speak, the words burst out. Violence and destruction, I shout. So the messages from Yahuwah have made me a household joke. But if I say, I'll never mention Yahuwah or speak in his name, his word burns in my heart like a fire. It's like a fire in my bones. I am worn out trying to hold it in. I can't do it. I have heard the many rumors about me. They call me the man who lives in terror. They threaten, if you say anything, we will report it. Even my old friends are watching me, waiting for a fatal slip. He'll trap himself, they say, and we'll go get our revenge on him. But Yahuwah stands beside me like a great warrior. Before him, my persecutors will stumble. They cannot defeat me. They will fail and be thoroughly humiliated. Their dishonor will never be forgotten. O Yahuwah, God of heaven's armies, you test those who are righteous, and you examine the deepest thoughts and secrets. Let me see your vengeance against them, for I have committed my cause to you. Sing to Yahuwah, praise Yahuwah, for though I was poor and needy, he rescued me from my oppressors. Yet I curse the day I was born. May no one celebrate the day of my birth. I curse the messenger who told my father, good news, you have a son. Let him be destroyed like the cities of old that Yahuwah overthrew without mercy. Terrify him all day long with battle shouts, because he did not kill me at birth. Oh, that I had died in my mother's womb, that her body had been my grave. Why was I ever born? My entire life has been filled with trouble, sorrow, and shame. Last chapter for the day, y'all. Jeremiah chapter 21. It's pretty fast, huh? Maybe just because I ain't add my little stories. Jeremiah chapter 21. No deliverance from Babylon. Yahuwah spoke through Jeremiah when King Zedekiah sent Pashur, son of Malchijah, and Zephaniah, son of Manasseh, the priest, to speak with him. They begged Jeremiah, please, speak to Yahuwah for us and ask him to help us. King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon is attacking Judah. Perhaps Yahuwah will be gracious and do a mighty miracle as he has done in the past. Perhaps he will force Nebuchadnezzar to withdraw his armies. Jeremiah replied, go back to King Zedekiah and tell him, this is what Yahuwah, the God of Israel, says. I will make your weapons useless against the king of Babylon and the Babylonians who are outside your walls attacking you. In fact, I will bring your enemies right to the heart of this city. I myself will fight against you with a strong hand and a powerful arm, for I am very angry. You have made me furious. I will send a terrible plague upon this city, and both people and animals will die. And after that, says Yahuwah, I will hand over King Zedekiah, his staff, and everyone else in the city who survives the diseases, war, and famine. Remember, he said that 4 things was going to happen. Disease, war, and famine, and then captivity. He said if you survive them 3, into captivity you go. I will hand over King Zedekiah, his staff, and everyone else in the city who survives the disease, war, and famine. I will hand them over to King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon and to their other armies. He will slaughter them and show them no mercy, pity, or compassion. Tell the people, this is what Yahuwah says. Take your choice of life or death. Everyone who stays in Jerusalem will die from war, famine, or disease, but those who go out and surrender to the Babylonians will live. Their reward will be their life. For I have decided to bring disaster and not good upon this city, says Yahuwah. It will be handed over to the king of Babylon, and he will reduce it to ashes. Judgment on Judah's kings. Say to the royal family of Judah, listen to this message from Yahuwah. Remember, Yahuwah is talking to his very own people. Uncle Nathaniel, peaceful greetings. His own hard-headed churn, right? Say to the royal family of Judah, listen to this message from Yahuwah. This is what Yahuwah says to the dynasty of David. Give justice each morning to the people you judge. Help those who have been robbed. Rescue them from their oppressors. Otherwise, my anger will burn like an unquenchable fire because of all your sins. I will personally fight against the people in Jerusalem, the mighty fortress. The people who boast, no one can touch us here, no one can break in here, and I myself will punish you for your sinfulness, says Yahuwah. I will light a fire in your forest that will burn up everything around you. And that is our reading for the day, beautiful people. That was extremely fast, right? Okay. I ain't add no stories in it. Alright, so let's go ahead and hop on over. Give us a little bit more time to get through some of this fossilized customs book, right? Alright, y'all. I gotta get a lot done before my turn from running down these stairs. Okay, so yesterday we left off with he was talking to this congregational leader who didn't necessarily agree with some of the stuff that he had written in his book. Not this one, but some of the previous editions. You know, each edition there's updates and stuff, right? So he put this conversation in here, and we left off with we finished the first thing he asked him, or his first disagreement, and how he responded to him. So here's the second thing. It says congregational leader. Number 2, he does not believe. Okay. So the congregational leader is trying to point out what clearly I just said it. He's trying to point out things that he says Lou is kind of taken out of context and what he doesn't agree with, which clearly goes against what he's been teaching in the church, right? Okay. So this is the second thing the congregational leader said. He does not believe in tithe and states it is a social decision and not a biblical commandment. Page, and he put the reference in Lou's book on that edition he was using, and at that time it was on page 89. And this is Lou's response to him. Anyone who has read Fossilized Customs can see that it is scriptural to tithe. The only controversy is who is to be the recipient of it. Yahusha was not supported by a tithe, but rather by those who were in the office of giving, women of means. And you can find that in Luke chapter 8 verses 3 and Mark chapter 15 verses 41. It is important to support Yahusha's work in the world by those who have the means. Miriam of Magdala was one of these women. The tithe is for the support of the widow, the fatherless, lame, hungry, and any who are in temporary or permanent need of support. Given to the poor is lending to Yahuwah, Proverbs 19:17, James 1:27, and Acts 10:4. And I definitely agree with that. Shalom, Mom. Because a lot of times what we'll notice, and this may not be in every church, right? It may not be in every church. I have been in some who does it appropriately, and I've been in some who don't do it quite so right? Okay, so the ones I've been in a church where they actually take the tithes and the offerings, and granted they take some of it and pay the church bills and stuff, right? But technically all of that should go to who Yahuwah designated that money goes to, right? But first, what they seem to do, they pay all their church bills, all their church overhead, and then they'll begin to divide it up into the different ministries and stuff. And sometimes that money doesn't necessarily get to the people who need it, but it goes to the people working in the ministry, or goes to the resources to get them to travel around. And then when the people show up, they just doing a bunch of talking, right? And I'm just like, all this money that was just taken up, y'all literally squandered it all, and y'all showing up with y'all face and y'all words. How is that helping these people? Especially if they hungry. They can't eat your words. I mean, you can take wisdom and apply it, but if people are hungry and their stomachs are rumbling, you need to satisfy that first. Give them something to eat. Then they'll be more apt to listen to what you're saying while you're running your mouth, right? So if the people are hungry, and people get that backwards sometimes, oh, come listen. No, how about you set up something and invite the people to eat, and not to come listen to you flap your gums, right? Meet the need, right? And then when people see that you actually care, you see that we don't have a place to stay, and you provided shelter or whatever. And most of the churches, not all of them, right? So, Chatina, hey girl, hey. Not all of them, but some will actually set up things, and they get houses, and they set up shelters and stuff, and they let the community know about it. And I think that's the proper way to do it. But some people that's just raking in money and not doing anything in the community, helping people, they just padding their pockets and traveling and teaching, and they're talking about it, but not actually being about it. Those are the ones that I take major issue with. And I just, you know what, I'm just steer clear from them, right? So if you want to get out there and help, or even during the holiday season or whatever, because, you know, people are in need of things, you know. I do believe some of the churches, they're doing a good thing, right, by actually getting out there in the community, spending time, and pulling together resources and making connections for different people, so they can actually have these things, not just padding your pockets, looking nice so we can travel and talk to you. Nobody want that crap. Anybody got time for that? Help us with some resources, right? Okay. So I agree with Lou on this. Like, this is what this is supposed to be used for, right? This is what this is supposed to be used for. Okay. But also, some people may bring the argument, well, it is for the priest. Yeah, it was for the priest, right? Because Yahuwah said what the people gave, it was the priest's portion, right? Because the priests are Levites, but the Levites, their portion was Yahuwah. So whatever the people gave to Yah in return gave it back to the priest. But as a general rule, it wasn't just the priests who were supposed to be out here making sure people were okay. That was actually the job of everybody, right? It wasn't just the job of the priest to make sure those who were hungry or whatever. That was a job of everybody in Israel, because Yahuwah, he takes issue with it when we don't, especially if those people who are in need are in our own family. If the people, widows, the fatherless, all those, if they have actual living family, that responsibility falls on the actual blood family, right? And there to take care of them. But then if they have no blood family, then that responsibility passes on to the other brothers and sisters that may not directly be related. You know, then this family picks up the slack and helps out where it is needed, right? So it's a proper order, right? Okay. Let's see. The tithe is for the support of the widow, fatherless, lame, hungry, and any who are in temporary or permanent need of support. Given to the poor is lending to Yahuwah. Proverbs 19:17, James 1:27, Acts chapter 10 and 4. There are many examples in fossilized customs supporting the tithe, but I also cite several scriptures which expose how the sheep will be fleeced for gain. 2 Corinthians chapter 2 verses 17, 2 Peter chapter 2 verse 3, Acts chapter 20 verses 32 through 35. We who labor in teaching are worthy of support, but only from those in the office of helps. 1 Corinthians chapter 12 and 28. Nowhere do we see any leader in Scripture teaching his students to give him 10% of their income. Certainly no apostle ever took such plunder for personal use from any assembly they started. Performing a study of the phrase ravenous wolves might shed light on this subject matter. If you have the means to support a leader who is working in the service of Yahuwah, please do so. But to call it the whole tithe is inappropriate. Those who oppose this teaching may have much to lose financially, but it is so much more blessed to give than receive. I know, because I must receive to do the work I do also. Without support, I would not be enabled to do very much at all. Another good word study in this context is nicolation. No offense to my critic intended. I get that. I don't necessarily agree with this anymore. Let me tell you why. Okay. Okay, so even although I got some issues with some of the things that Paul talked about, right? Since everybody familiar with Paul, right? They did everything without the help of people giving them alms or money for them to do their work, right? They had their own thing. They worked with their own hands, right? They even talk about it. They worked with their own hands so that they would be able to provide their own way, right? And a lot of times the people who you are going to teach or to preach to, a lot of times, I mean, they may be middle class, but, that's not people you should be extracting payment from, right? They need something from you. Granted, I know people say, well, you teaching, they should be. I get the theory in that. If you grew up in a church and you learn that, but you should have more to offer than just your words, right? Because how do we know that your words is working for you if you coming to us, the ones who need to be taught by you, if you coming to us for money for you to sustain your life, right? It's common sense to stand back, right? If you coming to teach me, I should see that you are coming to teach me. You have your own entourage of everything. You shouldn't need anything from me, right? That's your proof that what you're saying to me actually works, because you applied in your own life and it works for you. And if I see that it works for you, then surely it'll work for me, right? So that's why I don't necessarily agree with that, right? That people, like I said, to each his own. If that's where you at, okay. I used to be there. I really believed that until it's like, so you get some business of your own, right? It's like, wait a minute, I have my health and strength. Yahuwah has blessed us with talents and stuff. We can take care of ourselves, right? But you also should use common sense and wisdom not to create unnecessary bills for yourself, right? Some people may not need a church, right? But if you go buying a church and all this, and I get it, build it and the people will come, right? People are always trying to find some place to flock to, right? But in the information age, you don't necessarily need it. Not saying that you don't need to gather with people, because you actually need to touch flesh and blood sometime, face to face. I'm not saying do away with all of that, but it's a lot of money that could be saved, and the message could get across way more efficient. And then if you get good enough, you can use graphics. This is something that can be recorded, that the people can, they have access to it at any given time, right? They can save it, they can download it, they can use it as a study, they can pause it, they can rewatch it as many times. I don't know, I just think about it in a different way. Not saying the other way is wrong, because to each his own, but I think there's a more efficient way. And the more efficient way is not so taxing on the people who need your information, need your wisdom, right? Yahuwah don't ever charge us for anything. That's all I'm saying. Okay. Those who oppose this teaching may have much to lose financially, but it is so much more blessed to give than to receive. I know, he said right here, I know, because I must receive to do the work I do also. Without support, I would not be enabled to do very much at all. Another good word study in this context is nicolation. No offense to my critic intended. Okay, here's the third thing that the congregational leader said. He said, Lou believes ministers should not receive of tithes and offerings for their support. He believes ministers should get a job like everyone else and stop bilking the people out of their money. I believe that too, right? Or at least not go work for somebody. If you start off working for somebody, as you develop your understanding and your skill set, start your own business, and you can create your time, and you can get that up and running, and you can pull yourself from it while business is running. You can let your dollars begin to work for you, and you're no longer exchanging time for money. Like that's how it goes. You start off exchanging your time for money. I got to work to do this, and as you grow, you get wisdom. Now you learn how to have your money become your employees. Now your money works for you, where you can move yourself away. You can kind of oversee the operation and just do something. That's investor, right? Business owner, investor. So now you have more time. When you use wisdom and apply it, you gain your time back, which is your most precious commodity, because you only get a limited supply of that, right? But the money is unlimited, and you learn how to work that. You can redeem your time to where you can do those things you really want. And if your love is to teach the truth, you can teach the truth without money from anybody, right? Because that basic survival need, money, shelter, food, clothing, that need, you got that taken care of. Now you can take your time and actually enjoy what you do and teach people, not charge them a dime, right? Shoot. Well, I tell you, that's how you do it. I agree. I agree. I'll read this again. He believes ministers should not receive of tithes and offerings for their support. He believes ministers should get a job like everyone else and stop bilking the people out of their money. And this was Lou's response. Did Peter have a job? Andrew, Peter, John did quite a bit of fishing, and not for sport. Paul was a maker of tents, and he mourned for the occasions he was supported by assemblies when he needed to impose on them. He surely didn't confuse this support with the tithe. He carried offerings of food to the saints in Jerusalem where there was a famine. You can read that in 1 Corinthians chapter 16 and 3, and Romans chapter 15 verses 26 and 27. The poor were foremost on the minds of these men. Galatians chapter 2 and 10. We are to be supported as elders in the body, and this is to do the work of the workmen. We must not become a burden on every person to the extent of taking 10% from everyone's wages. Those with the means will have it put on their hearts to invest in our work, and by doing so, share in the rewards. The Gentiles who reap spiritually from the people of Yahuwah were encouraged to share materially with them. Romans chapter 15, verses 26 and 27. Our brother's word offerings, and offerings is in the parentheses. Our brother's word offerings above was never a topic I taught against in the book. I still feel that we who serve the body should work in an auxiliary capacity to earn a living, since we are not Levites and exempt from having a livelihood. Each one of the body is of the priesthood of Melchizedek, and we are living stones of the temple of Yahuwah. We ain't going to get into the priesthood of Melchizedek. We talked about that before. You can actually just go find the video entitled, just type in Melchizedek under my channel. You will find that video. Congregational leader, this is his fourth thing. He does not believe in gathering on the Sabbath or, in fact, ever needing to gather as believers. This is Lou's response. We worship Yahuwah by our obedience every day. Gathering on the Sabbath or after Sabbath, as we see done in Acts chapter 20, verses 7 through 12, is encouraged if possible in fossilized customs. But we must study to see if it is required to assemble or not. Reading Exodus chapter 16, 29 and 30, we know we must not leave our vicinity on the Sabbath. Wherever two or three are gathered in Yahuwah's name, wherever two or three are gathered in Yahuwah's name, he is present. In the Sabbath assemblies 2,000 years ago, a large amount of attendees were Gentiles so they could learn Torah. This has changed radically. There are no Gentiles attending synagogues, nor are the Christians reading the Torah in their assemblies. We are told to observe the Sabbath in all your dwellings, Leviticus chapter 23 through 3. This observance is primarily focused on resting. Sabbath was made for man's rest. We are commanded to assemble 3 times in a year, males over 20. On a typical weekly Sabbath, those who study may do so in their homes today with their families, where the basic focus or center of our life and walk. Where, let me just read that whole sentence again. On a typical weekly Sabbath, those who study may do so in their homes today with their families, where the basic focus or center of our. I keep screwing this sentence up. Hold on. Let me start over again. On a typical weekly Sabbath, those who study may do so in their homes today with their families, where the basic focus or center of our life and walk begins. The family dwelling is the center, and the family structure is the model for teaching our offspring. We do not live to assemble, but we are to live to teach our children the Torah of Yahuwah. It is no one else's responsibility. And I think that's where we get it messed up a lot, because we go to church and we cart our children off and we push them in the children's church. I used to do that. I stopped doing that a long time ago when I realized what was happening. And I realized the teenagers that was being produced out of children's church. I'm like, what? Look, I ain't gonna say that. Let me keep reading. I was about to start with a story, but that might just be a little bit inappropriate. Okay. Hold on. We do not live to assemble, but we are to live to teach our children the Torah of Yahuwah. It's no one else's responsibility. When we assemble as adults, it is for edification, and each one is to have a turn at teaching, prophesying, interpreting, revelations, singing, according to their gifts in 1 Corinthians chapter 14 and 26. If we never gather together, the voice of Yahuwah cannot speak to the body. The spirit of prophecy is the testimony of Yahusha. Yahuwah. The spirit of prophecy is the testimony of Yahuwah. He is in us and teaches us through one another, even the least of us. If we come together and only one speaks, then we have gagged Yahuwah. Perhaps our brother misunderstood what I meant in the book. We're not obliged or commanded to assemble each and every Sabbath, as Catholicism has taught for centuries about their Sunday worship services called the Mass. If we choose to, we can sleep all day on the Sabbath and no wrong is done. Don't miss a Sunday. Definitely don't miss two. They can put an APB out on you. We just want to make sure you ain't backslid, sister. I'm tired. I ain't feel like getting on my bed today, right? And let you stop coming for a little while, then show back up. Did they treat you like you got the plague and about to pass it to everybody? Say she been out there sinning in the word. And no telling what she done brought back with her. Oh, you a see-me Christian, Christmas and Easter Christian. Stay away from her. I seen her last week. And she wasn't in somewhere with Christians should go. Y'all know what I'm talking about. If we choose to, we can sleep all day on a Sabbath and no wrong is done. Leaders who insist otherwise may have an agenda to push, and their congregation should investigate what that may be. If a leader takes up a collection of money on the Sabbath, then they need to find where this behavior is seen in Scripture. We should not be carrying money around at all on a Sabbath. Even the beggars have to take this day off. Panhandle. Oh, it's a Sabbath. I'm going to my box today. What was wrong? Y'all, I've been up for a little while. Sorry. If a leader takes up a collection of money on the Sabbath, then they need to find where this behavior is seen in Scripture. We should not be carrying money around at all on the Sabbath. Even the beggars have to take this day off. What does this text mean? 6 days work is done, but the 7th day is a Sabbath of rest, as set apart mikra. You do no work. It is a Sabbath to Yahuwah in all your dwellings. Please look up the Hebrew meaning of Mikra as it pertains to its root, Kara, Q-A-R-A. That's Hebrew. We know English, they always stick a U there, but it's Q-A-R-A if you're looking it up in the Hebrew or Strong's Concordance. Okay, here is his fifth gripe, the congregational leader. He believes in the two-house covenant theory, whereas all Gentile believers are descended from the lost 10 tribes of Israel. This is the Ephraimite error. This is Lou's response. My error comes from scriptural references which clearly contrast the terms house of Israel and house of Yehuda, or the house of Judah. A division which developed after David's conflict with Absalom. The Yehudim are indeed among the elect of Yahuwah, but there are other sheep who are not of his fold. Please do not put me into a box by thinking that I believe that England and America are the primary remnants of the 10 lost tribes. Amos chapter 9 and 9 tells us, For look, I am commanding, and I shall sift the house of Israel among the Gentiles, as one sifts with a sieve, yet not a grain falls to the ground. James 1 and 1 is addressed to the 12 tribes who are in the dispersion. Greetings. Jeremiah chapter 31 speaks of this Ephraimite era. For there shall be a day when watchmen cry out on Mount Ephraim, Arise, and let us go to Zion, to Yahuwah our Elohim, the house of Yehuda, or the house of Judah, which is the southern kingdom, and the house of Israel, which is the northern kingdom. The northern 10 tribes are called two sticks and even sisters. We need to understand the end time prophecies of the two sticks being made into one again, declared at Ezekiel chapter 37. But if a person chooses to think these Jews are being regathered to Jews, what? Okay, but if a person chooses to think these are Jews being regathered to Jews, then they are missing out on the understanding of the secret of Yahuwah, which is being revealed just prior to the sounding of the seventh messenger, which is found at Revelation chapter 10, verse 7, and he also has Ephesians chapter 3 and 6. No harm is done, but is this really an issue over which we have to become adversarial with one another? Paul warned us to shun foolish controversies and genealogies. See 1 Timothy chapter 1 and verse 4 and Titus chapter 3 verses 9. Something tells me this is not foolish at all, but prophetic fulfillment. But I like knowing that the 12 gates into New Jerusalem will be named for each of the 12 tribes. Yahuwah is finding each one of us and also others who are engrafting. The 12 tribes of Israel are the priests to the nations. Congregational leader, this is his sixth gripe. He believes Yahuwah has divorced Israel, and he gives the reference of the book he was using on page 59, for her idolatry. Physical Israel no longer has a covenant with Yahuwah unless they accept the renewed covenant. This is Lou's response. I could have responded to this, but just go ahead and read what Lou put. Odd that you would bring this up. If you turn to Jeremiah chapter 3, you will read about the treachery which the northern house of Israel did after David and Absalom's conflict caused the division of the north and the south. Yahuwah even says that the house of Judah did not return to him from her backsliding even after witnessing what he had brought on the north. Israel was carried away, or the 10 tribes were carried away. We just literally finished reading all that, right? He pleads with the house of Judah, telling her that her sister Israel, the 10 tribes, right, that were carried away, her sister, or the twin stick. He pleads with the house of Judah, telling her that her sister, Israel of the north, would not return to him, but she did not return. And her treacherous sister Judah saw it. And I saw that for all the causes for which backsliding Israel had committed adultery, and in parentheses he has idolatry, which we know idolatry is adultery. Idolatry will lead to adultery. Adultery is the result of idolatry, right? If you think about, you gonna act out, right? That's in our physical realm right here between husband and wife, and that relates to idolatry and adultery with Yahuwah, right? On our physical level, Yahuwah uses what we do with husbands and wives when we begin looking at somebody other than our spouse and thinking the grass is greener on the other side and admiring what they do and how they do it over there, and we get taken in by this idolatry and constantly keeping our eyes on them, we're pulled into it, and now we begin committing the act of adultery, right? When we take our eyes off of y'all, look at what the other nations are doing and how they being blessed by their multiple gods or whatever. Just like in our area, somebody other than your spouse could be lavishing nice. Oh, you so good. Oh my, oh, your wife don't do this, or your husband don't do this for you, or all this, right? They start sounding sweet, and it pulls you in. You ever seen like the cartoon where that pie been set in the window, and Tom and Jerry or the dog or something sitting outside, and that the wind begins to blow, and that pie scent begins to take them by the nose, and the music playing and the body wafting through the air, going to that pie. It's like a sheep being led to the slaughter, right? Same thing, we can look at it on our level and our foolishness and what we do. And Yahuwah specifically uses that so we can understand what we're doing to him when we begin worshiping other gods. He said, yo, you saw what happened to your treacherous sister, how she committed whoredom, idolatry, and committed adultery against me, right? And you went right ahead and followed in them ways, right? So we can everything, remember, it falls in the same thing where I always repeat, what Yahuwah is trying to teach us and show us can be proven and tested in nature, even in our very own lives and our situations, if we would care to step back, look, and observe, right? That's why he always uses these examples, because we can understand this. We live this on a daily basis, right? And a lot of us are no strangers to idolatry and adultery. We know it all too well, right? We know it. So we know you who ain't tripping. We know what he talking about. Listen, he pleads with the house of Yehuda, telling her that her sister, Israel of the north, would not return to him. And he starts with the scripture in Jeremiah. But she did not return, and her treacherous sister Judah saw it. And I saw that for all the causes for which backsliding Israel had committed adultery, in parentheses is idolatry, I had put her away and given her a certificate of divorce. Yet her treacherous sister Judah did not fear, but went and committed whoring too. And that's found in Jeremiah chapter 3, verses 7 and 8. And you can find that in many more places, not just there, but that's just the one he chose to bring out. Okay, here's the congregational leader's seventh gripe. He uses his use of Paleo-Hebrew is outlandish and ridiculous, as there are many uncertainties about original character, meaning, and pronunciation. He believes that using Paleo-Hebrew for God and Yeshua is the only correct way of representing them. He says the use of God is pagan and the use of Jesus, Yeshua, is incorrect. And here's Lou's response. Yahuwah Elohim used Paleo-Hebrew to write the Torah in the stone tablets, so I stand on my choice of characters with him. In fact, most of the prophets wrote in the archaic primary Hebrew. It was only during the Babylonian captivity that the Yahudim took the Babylonian Hebrew characters on. Belteshazzar needed Daniel to read this outlandish and ridiculous script because the Babylonians knew nothing of it. Moses, Abraham, Enoch, David, Solomon, these men could not read modern Hebrew. They used that outlandish and ridiculous Paleo-Hebrew script. The Great Scroll of Isaiah is a copy of the original and is on display in the shrine of the Book Museum in Jerusalem. The name is preserved in its original outlandish and ridiculous. Every time he repeats it, he puts it in the what you call it, the, not the parentheses, the, what you call them, y'all know what I'm talking about, that he referring to. That's what the guy, the congregational leader said. He said it was outlandish and ridiculous. So every time Lou repeats the outlandish and ridiculous, he puts it in the quotes. Hold on. The display, the Great Scroll of Isaiah is a copy of the original and on display in the shrine of the Book Museum in Jerusalem. The name is preserved in its original outlandish and ridiculous Paleo-Hebrew script, while the rest of the text is in modern Hebrew. The original is the Kodesh script. Remember, Kodesh means set apart. And must never be referred to in a profane or disrespectful manner. The letters, and here it has in parentheses 22. The letters 22 of both scripts have the same meanings and sounds with some exceptions. The words mean the same things too. Aleph is ox, Beth is house, and so on. So if you're familiar with the Hebrew letters, Aleph would be the A, Beth would be the B, So Aleph is the ox. So it, matter of fact, okay, right here on the back. So in Paleo Hebrew, you wouldn't necessarily write out Aleph, right? You would actually use the actually he don't have the pictures. There are some, I wish he had it up here. He tell you what the representation is. The ox, sometimes they'll do this, sometimes they'll write the modern, sometimes they'll do the Aramaic, yeah. They'll do the Paleo Hebrew letters, but sometimes they don't even do the letters. They'll actually draw out the symbols. And I have something where they actually do the alphabet and they actually give the symbols. So that's what he's talking about. Angel 2, yay! We live. Okay. So, let me read that again. The Great Scroll of Isaiah is a copy of the original, and it is on display in the shrine of the Book Museum in Jerusalem. The name is preserved in its original, outlandish and ridiculous Paleo-Hebrew script, while the rest of the text is in modern Hebrew. The original is Kodesh script and must never be referred to in a profane or disrespectful manner. Ooh, you know what? I may have shown this to y'all before. And again, I may not have. I actually have a Hebrew Bible, and it has nothing but Paleo Hebrew, like the letters and the symbols in it. I don't want to run in there and get it, because I was going to run in there and get it, but I moved some stuff around that might not be right where I forgot exactly where I set it at. I'll show it to you. 1 second. Hold on. So you can see. And I think it's a good learning tool. Yeah, I found it. Okay. I'm going to show you. It's kind of small, but you might be able to see it. But if you watch this over, you may be able to pause the video and maybe blow your screen up. Okay. So Jeff A. Benner, and I may have talked about this last year, right? So it's called Ancient Hebrew Torah. Whoa. This is, yes, sweetie.
Why you run?
Oh, because I had to come back to the video. Okay. So I got I went through a mark because I was able to find stuff, right? And so I found a blessing and the feast and Leviticus and stuff and all those. Can you see it? So the entire Bible actually has, it doesn't have, well, this is actually the Paleo Hebrew symbols, right? So it doesn't actually have the letters. So if you're more familiar with the letters and you don't know the actual symbols like the ox and stuff, this is, you won't be able to read this because the entire book is in the Paleo Hebrew symbol letters, right? So you can see all of it. See it? Got the ox head, it got the water, the look like a cane, alignment, all that stuff, right? Entire book, original Paleo Hebrew symbols, right? So it took me a little while. Had to separate it. I had it. I had my regular Bible beside it, and I was just kind of going through and just kind of verifying stuff. I was like, okay, this is this. It takes a little while. I still can't sit there and read from it like I'm reading through a book or the regular Bible, simply because I'm not proficient. I'm just flipping through so you can see that the entire Torah here, it has, and this is Deuteronomy here, right? It has through the whole Bible. So it will take me a while. If I'm going to decipher, I'm going to have to go, and I need a chart, and I need to, and you can tell it's breaks within the words, so you can decipher, okay, that's one word, that's another word. And he also has numbers in here. Well, you can see, let me get a little closer. You can see where the numbers are. Like here's a 30, so that lets you know that's like verse 30, right, of that particular chapter. So he helps you in that respect. So he kind of left some of those things in to kind of help you along the way as you go through and read it. But it will take me a little while to decipher a chapter. Like, really, it's almost like trying to transcribe Morse code to me. But I can get it. You just give me a little while. Just don't give me more than 2 sentences at a time, right? Because I need to verify, okay, this. Make sure that we need to, okay, this picture go with this letter. Now I need to sound it out because there are no vowel sounds. Like, he don't have the, what they call it, the nikuds and all that stuff where they add the sounds in, because there is simply just a bunch of consonants, no vowels, right? So you have to understand that part. Then you'll be able to read it fluently. And if you look at it, you would know, okay, so this would have a pronunciation where it's like A, right? Instead of like Sabbath, it would be SBT, right? I think it's like actually it would be SH, I forget, SHBT. That's what it will read. I might have a letter off, right? But I can look at the now. I was like, oh, that's Sabbath, right? And I would know to add like the A in it to pronunciate it the correct way, right? Or to enunciate it the right way. So just in case, this is, if you want to take a stab at it, all his stuff is pretty good. I learned about him through Her Royal Roots, so by Jeff A. Benner. And he is really good and really thorough in his research, just in case you're looking for some extra research material, somebody that's credible. I took a little while now. He's good. And he has a couple other short books that are really thin. He kind of gets right to the point, and I think he gives really good examples on how you can understand stuff. And it's really, really helpful for those who care. Okay. All right, so the original is the Kodesh script and must never be referred to in a profane or disrespectful manner. The letters of both scripts have the same meanings and sounds with some exceptions. The words mean the same things too. Aleph is ox, Beth is house, and so on. Being a living language, changes have occurred in the Hebrew tongue, but the script we call Paleo Hebrew was taught to Enoch by a messenger of Enoch, and you can find that in the book of Jubilees for that info. I have no axe to grind with the Aramaic whatsoever, but if we have to choose between them, I vote for the way my father writes. We are babbling today, no doubt. Change is a form of corruption too. I can read both forms, both modern Babylonian Aramaic as well as Paleo Hebrew. I encourage everyone to draw closer to the original script, and for this I take a little heat once in a while. Everybody got to start somewhere, right? I started with the modern, like the block or whatever. I ain't really finished it, and I just kind of jumped to the Paleo because I saw that it was closer to the original script. But either or, you're going to learn either way. Matter of fact, if you're already learning the modern, you probably should finish with that track of learning then go right into the paleo, because you'll understand it be a whole lot better, and you can see how the letters kind of transform a little throughout time, and it's easier once you already got the foundation of the modern, just to kind of transition to the paleo. And some people go Aramaic, whatever. It's really not a big arguing point, guys. You're still going to learn, right? That's the way I look at it now. Okay, here's his 8th gripe. Where we at? 57 minutes, I think. He got one more gripe after this. 9. Okay, gripe number 8. His use of Yahusha is completely incorrect for representing Mashiach. Yimak Shamo Uzi Crow. I don't know what that is. I think that might be his name. Yeah, it's in bold, but it's nothing beside it. But anyway, this is Lou's response. Yeshua is fine with me, since it was written on Jacob's ossuary in this way. But it should not be dangerous to know that Yeshua is short for Yahusha, just as Larry is short for Lawrence, or Mike is short for Michael. Yahusha is another rendering, but not found in Hebrew text. Yeshua is less desirable, modifying the vowel for the sound of the name Yah. Also, this Yeshu form from the Talmud is an acronym and stands for Yimak. Oh, okay, that's what it was. Okay. It's not, all right, let me finish reading. Okay. Also, this Yeshu, Yeshu, this Yeshu form from the Talmud is an acronym and stands for Yimak Shmo Uzikro. May his name be blotted out. We mustn't argue over words, but grow in understanding why we are using them. So that's what that term means, right? And we should definitely not be using that, because what Yahuwah say, he said, do not take my name in vain, which also means, if you look at the original text, the original rendering, not just don't use it in a filthy or undesirable way, but it means don't cause it to go to ruin, right? And causing it to go to ruin, that can happen in a couple different ways, but also by not speaking his name. When he said, my name is Yahuwah forever, let them know that my name is Yahuwah forever. We should speak his name. But this is telling us not to speak his name, which is a form of causing us to bring his name to ruin. Because if we don't speak his name, no one would know it, and it's in complete ruins because we don't know. We can't find it. Complete desolation, right? And that's breaking one of his commands. He wants us to speak his name, make his name known. My name is Yahuwah forever. Listen, let me read this again. Yeshua is less desirable, modifying the vowel for the sound of the name Yah. Also, this Yeshu form from the Talmud is an acronym and stands for Yimak Shmo Uzikro, which means may his name be blotted out. Whew, my gosh. We mustn't argue over words, but grow an understanding of why we are using them. If a person wants to dig into it a little, the Greek text at Acts chapter 7 and Hebrews chapter 4 will reveal the fact that Joshua and Jesus have the same underlying Greek letters, and scholars deduce the two men have identical spellings in Hebrew. Greek is an intermediate language, and we know Yeshua did not have a Greek name, nor did he ever hear Jesus on his eardrums. Joshua is spelled Yod He Ua Shin Ayin in Hebrew. If you notice the spelling of Yehuda, the first 3 letters also match this name, as well as the first 3 letters in Yahuwah, Yod He Ua He. If the proper way to say Yod He Ua Shin Ayin is not Yahusha, then I'm all ears to learn a better way. Scripture uses 3 variations for the name. Yahusha is used 216 times, Yahushua is used 2 times, and Yeshua is used 1 time. The diminutive or shortened form for a name is called a hypochorisma. Yeah, hypochorisma. And he actually shows it here with this chart. right up here. So I'll hold it up. It always looks blurry to me on Facebook. I'm trying to look and see. Okay. Right here. Trying to fit the whole thing in the screen for Facebook. I know YouTube can see it. Okay. Give me a couple more seconds because we live. For those who are watching it later, they can kind of just pause the video and look at it. Okay. All right. His ninth gripe, and we're gonna end it after he answers this. His ninth gripe. Okay. His use of ha-shaitan is an incorrect use of the Hebrew language. Ha-shaitan or ha-satan means Satan, right? And here's Lou's response. Shaitan is word 7853, the number 7853 in the Strong's Concordance. That's the number it's giving you. Shaitan is word number 7853, spelled Shin Tet Nun, and means adversary or opponent. The prefix ha is simply an article equivalent to our word the. Is this something to get our hackles up over? Used as a pronoun, it's sometimes mistaken to be the same thing as a name, but in these cases, it is merely a designation for a being who has, in fact, had his original name blotted out. The name this being had prior to its rebellion is easily researched. It is Azazel. We all know that, right? We actually see Azazel, however you pronounce it, Azazel, actually mentioned in Scripture. I believe it's in Leviticus. I believe it's in Leviticus because it's talking about when you send that lamb out into the wilderness, one for Azazel, all that whole portion there, it calls that name out. I forget exactly where it is, but it's in there. It's Leviticus or Exodus. I don't think it's in Exodus. I think it's in Leviticus. It could actually be Deuteronomy. I know it's one of them 3 books. Don't quote. I'll find it. And I'll post it today. Let me put Exodus. Since I already said it. You'll see what I'm talking about. Okay. Hold on. This name, the name this being had prior to its rebellion is easily researched. It is Azazel, meaning power of Yahuwah. Like us, this being has to go through time, so he doesn't exist in all time like Yahuwah does. If the word were spelled Shin Tau Nun, it would mean to urinate. They sound the same, so that may be poetic justice. The adversary has the same sound as urinate. Congregational leader 10. This is his last right here. Throughout his book, he has nothing good to say about anyone or anything, as he believes he is the only one who has a correct understanding. And we can clearly tell just by this comment right here, this is a butthurt pastor, preacher, teacher, evangelist, somebody. He ain't never got nothing good to say. How could you even think that way, right? He booty hurt. This is Lou's response. I didn't realize that the book was not only depressing, but also taken to be a monument to conceit as well. Please accept my apology if it was taken that way, but I recall stating that I merely gathered facts from many sources and put them together, not to judge people, but rather customs which have unsavory origins. Sure, most of the investigation is a major bummer, but trashing nonsense and doctrines against truth are difficult to present with a gleeful outcome. The wonderful news is lots of people can investigate on their own to find out if what I've uncovered is true or not. Then they can gain the understanding and see how it feels to have eaten the red pill. And in parentheses, he has analogy to the Matrix, which we use a lot. With much wisdom comes much sorrow. The more knowledge, the more grief. And that's found in Ecclesiastes chapter 1, verses 18. I will pray for you, brother, to be granted wisdom in greater measure, and I hold no bitterness against you for your position. In the future, you will find that using scripture to correct and rebuke error will work much better than personal feelings and popular opinion. Just a friendly tip. Preach the word. Chapter 2 Timothy chapter 4, verse 2. I'm not even looking down that far. 11 is the last one. I'm sorry. Let me just double check this again. Okay. 11 is definitely the last one. So let me go ahead and read this one because it finished with this right here with this with the knots of rim. So I'm gonna read this last one. The numbers are not bold, so it looks like it's kind of just merging. Okay, so this is really the last one, y'all. This is his 11th, number 11, his 11th gripe. The congregational leader said, the entire book is incoherent and rambles endlessly back and forth between subjects and concepts. The book has no set order, theme, or consistent message. Here's Lou's response. The tapestry I chose to unravel is connected to many disciplines of knowledge, and what you said about the rambling back and forth is quite true, but it is also true of the writings of Brother Paul. Reading Fossilized Customs is not for entertainment. Many who have read it tell me they begin to see more and more with their second and third reading. If this doesn't make sense to you, then read it again and again until the consistent message appears to you. Below, our brother rightly describes the contents of Fossilized Customs, calling them abhorrent. I could not agree more. The deceptions that have been perpetrated upon all mankind are described more concisely by the messenger's words recorded by Brother John. Babel the Great is fallen, and has become a dwelling place of demons, a haunt for every unclean spirit, and a haunt for every unclean and hated bird, because all the nations have drunk the wine of the wrath of her whoring, and the sovereigns of the earth have committed whoring with her, and the merchants of the earth have become rich through the power of her riotous living. And that's found in Revelation chapter 18, verses 2 and 3. If my worst sin is writing the book Fossilized Customs, exposing the deceptions and showing the truth, then I am indeed relieved. The trouble is, I think I'm guilty of much worse. I was doomed at one time without knowledge of Yahuwah and his love for me and all his chosen ones. As I reflect back, when I could not understand scripture, I could be guilty of having the same opinion of it as you said of Fossilized Customs. The entire book is incoherent and rambles endlessly back and forth between subjects and concepts. The book has no set order, theme, or consistent message. Congregational leader. As a result of these things, I feel it is inappropriate to be promoting a man with such deviant and unscriptural ideas. I think it would be in proper order to print a retraction in your next issue and warn people against this man and his book. I have had to deal with this book numerous times as a number of people have been led astray by its abhorrent contents. Feel free to use any of this email in either direct or indirect quote. And Lou responded, indeed, circulate widely, but not to slander anyone. It's best to address teachings without bringing a charge against another servant's character. And I've actually had people, while reading this, I'm like, y'all must have just jumped right in the middle of the book, like not paying attention to anything that's being said. See, here's what I've noticed they've done. And this is not everybody, but I want to say at least 5 people, at least 5 different people specifically have inboxed me about this book. And have you researched this man and seen, and you see what kind of shop he works in? I'm like, yes, I've seen all that. I said, but did you watch this video about the guy that went in with a hidden camera into his shop? And I was like, yeah, I saw that. I said, y'all are missing the whole point of what he's saying, right? And it's like they're not looking at truth. They're trying to point out everything else that is completely wrong. And because at that time he was working in a shop where it had like different type of masks, like Halloween, not necessarily Halloween, because it wasn't a Halloween shop he was working in. It was more like a holistic shop, but it wasn't his shop. right? It was his friend's shop, and his friend actually had a setup that he allowed him to use during the time, which I understood that because I did my research into Lou, right? I was like, okay, some people just thrown off by anything, but I like to separate truth from error, eat the meat, spit out the bones, right? If that's your biggest distraction on why you can't see and understand truth, then I don't know what to say. But it feels like, well, because of that, I can't join in on those readers. Let me know when you get to another one. I'm not telling you to purchase the book. I'm just showing you that this book has a lot of truth. And I don't necessarily agree with everything. When we get to a part that I don't agree with, based on what I understand at this point in time in my life, I will point it out to you. And a lot of you may not agree with me about what I disagree with, and you could agree with it. And that's okay. We're all on our different paths in life, learning as Yahuwah grows us up, and it's okay. But we should be able to learn together. Iron sharpens iron, right? We're not going to agree on everything. Everybody in my house don't always agree on everything. That don't mean we're going to follow and everybody moving out. No, we got to learn to agree to disagree. We're not going to fall out over this. It's just at this point, I believe this, you believe that. Okay. We'll set that right there because that's a sensitive issue for us, and we don't want to fall out with one another over this because we don't see eye to eye just yet. Okay, we'll shelve that for the time being. We can come back to it later. Let's get on with what we can agree with. We agree that Yahuwah is one God and he is one God alone, and he is the God that we all in this house worship. Okay, and we can move with this, right? They had these arguments all the time, all through Scripture, right? Even all through the New Testament, Pharisees and the Sadducees, and you got the brothers falling out with Paul and Silas, and what is it? Name start with a B. Barnabas, all it's the same thing. They've always had the same issue. Somebody don't agree with something on this, and we gonna go over here and start our own ministry because we don't quite believe. Okay, we don't really have to do that, right? We don't agree, okay, right? And some people don't realize that, and that actually hurts. By falling out like that, that hurts the weaker ones or the ones that's coming up because some of them are not able to rightly divide truth from error yet, right? And you cause them to stumble by some of these fruitless arguments that you have, arguing back and forth. And I used to do arguing back and forth over different pronunciations of the names. So, okay, we get the base. Okay, can we agree on Yah? I think everybody all around the world can agree on Yah, right? No matter what ending, Yahuwah, Yahuwah, Yahusha, Yahweh, Yahweh, what can we agree on? Yah, Y-A-H. Okay, well, let's just use Yah. We all agree on Yah. Ain't nobody gonna fall out over Yah. That's his name, right? That's the basis of his name, Yah. Okay, then let's walk. Everybody, Yah, right? You gotta find ways to kill fruitless arguments, right? Shalom, Joy. But my videos are too long. Even with the new thing they did, we can watch IGTV. They're too long to actually put all up there. I tried a couple times, maybe kind of shorten it, but I'm just like, I can't really. It's just too long. So if people want to watch them, they come to YouTube or go to Facebook or whatever. Unknown. How come you never expose Truth Unveiled? How long have you been a part of my channel? Or how long have you watched any of my videos? I have never done videos exposing anybody. I think those are fruitless, Now, you will see 2 videos on my channel. One recently, day before yesterday, one that Truth Unveiled did, discussing the truth about homosexuality. I didn't put it on Facebook because he didn't put it on Facebook, but I actually emailed him about this. Didn't get a response from him. He actually he turned off his comments, so I decided to share with him some information that I think was lacking in his video. Now, I'm not sure how many people actually watched his 3.5-hour video on that, right? And I'm sure this is what you're talking about because I think it was you who made a comment on that video. Actually, think you about called his subscribers, with, for lack of a better word, brain dead, but your comment was deleted. If you didn't delete it, somebody reported it because I didn't delete it. And the only reason why I saw it is because it popped up in my notifications and I could still read your message even if you delete it or somebody else deletes it. But I'm not in a habit of exposing people. I'm in a habit of exposing lies and uncovering the truth, not calling people names or beating them down, but I'm in a habit of sharing information that they might be lacking. So I hope that answers your question. He said the whole video was a satanic lie. He's trying to extinct human beings, y'all's creation. I get it, Unknown. I get what you're saying. Here's my thoughts on that, right? Okay, just kind of bring Kathy. Hey, girl. Hey, good morning. Just kind of bring y'all up to speed because y'all can see his comments. Joy, the IG name is actually our family account. So look for Murphy Tribe and you'll find us there. And if you look at it, you will see pictures and you'll know that's us. Here's what I feel about it, right? And you're just to bring everybody up to speed. Unknown said that whole video was a satanic lie. He's trying to extinct human beings, y'all's creation. Okay, I see your point. But listen to what I'm saying. Hold on, let me write my page over here. Let me pause. 256. Hold on. Matter of fact, hold on. Let me I'm about to answer this, but let me end this for those who have to go to work. So we're gonna do the blessing real quick, then pause. You stay right there. I'm gonna answer your question. Guys, let's close this out today. If you want to stay, listen to my response, you can, but let me close this out. I want to be respectful of your time. Okay, so today it is Thursday, July the 22nd, 2021. Day 213 of year 3 of reading through the books of the law and the prophets, and of the 3-year consecutive day count, day 882. We read Jeremiah 19, 20, and 21, and we read Fossilized Customs, page 251 to page 256. All right, so let's go ahead and hop on over here to the blessing. The blessing is found in Numbers. I bet. The blessing is found in Numbers chapter 6, verses 22 through 27. Remember, the first 21 verses is the Nazirite vow. And Yahuwah spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto Aaron and unto his sons, saying, On this wise ye shall bless the children of Israel, saying unto them, May Yahuwah bless us and keep us. May Yahuwah make his face to shine upon us and be gracious unto us. May Yahuwah lift up his countenance upon us and give us peace. And they shall put my name upon the children of Israel, and I will bless them. Some people, I can tell that they didn't watch this whole video. Not that it changed any way through, but I decided to watch the entire video first without prejudging, just to hear where he was coming from, the references he was using. Like I said, I like to do my own due diligence. Right now, I'm buffering. Connection is unstable. It just did that on all of them. I don't know. Can y'all still hear me? Am I still here? It shows y'all are still here. See me? YouTube went out. I don't know, y'all. Cut me off. Facebook was buffering too. Can y'all still see me here on Facebook? Facebook. Yeah, you can see me on Facebook, Levon. Okay, cool. Facebook is good. Both of them started buffering at the same time. YouTube, it tells me that the connection is unstable. It says, please wait while we are reconnecting. I don't know, y'all. I don't know. Can y'all see me? YouTube. Look at this jerky repeatedly. You can hear me fine. Can y'all see me? Okay. Here's what I'm going to do. Hold on. Facebook. Hold on. I ain't going to cut Facebook off. But what I'll do. Hold on. Here is what I am going to do. Everything seems. Okay, it's working fine on Facebook, but I want to know about YouTube. It says the connection is unstable. Hello? I think it went out. That might be a sign from y'all. Don't, Pam. Can y'all see me? Still buffering? Buffering. Okay. See, because the guy that was, and I don't know if it's a guy or a girl. It just says unknown over here, y'all. It's buffering on YouTube. Thanks, Savon. Okay. Yeah, my mom just said it's still buffering. Okay. Here's what I'm going to do. I am going to stop this feed. I will start another video and I will explain for about 5 minutes. Let me see if I can. I don't even know how to screenshot. You would think I know how to screenshot something, right? Hold on. Let me put this over here. Get his question. Move his question. I know y'all probably Facebook like, shoot, let us know what happened. Hold on. Before this go out. What I'll do. Okay. I'm copying the rest of his question. Okay, let me end this. Okay, boom. Okay. About to end this and restart another one real quick. Okay, let's end this one. And let me start it over. New stream. Okay, let me see how much. Okay, I'm at 16. Couple. Explain. Answer. Okay. Okay, it's up. Let me see if they start popping in. Post the rest of this question up here. Okay. Let's do this. Wait till they pop back in. All right, y'all. Okay. Maybe he'll come back. Listen, okay. We got 2 people over here. Or 1 now. Okay. Let me ask. Unknown, are you back in here? The person that... Yeah. Trina. I ain't gonna get into like too many details, but I'm gonna explain why. Cause some people think you're just supposed to like expose everybody, and I don't think that's cool, right? Cause everybody, everybody has, like I said, everybody has their own path they have to walk, their own level of growth that they're on. And everybody has issues and personal issues and struggles that they deal with. And he decided he wanted to do a video about the truth of homosexuality. The video that I did, well, when I watched him, if you watch his whole video, the main point he was bringing out was that the word homosexuality was not used in the original text, right? So that's what it was about. So if you weren't paying attention, it's like it was like he was really talking about the language, although he added other stuff in there, but his main point was to bring out that, yeah, scriptures and versions that we read today, it says that like one of the main ones in Leviticus, I think is Leviticus 18:22. I think it was Leviticus 18:22. Man shall not lay with a man as with a woman, right? Because it's an abominable thing. But what he was talking about to me, as I took the time and I had to pause it and rewind it a couple times, just kind of make sure I was understanding what he was trying to convey, because he did a lot of scriptural references with the Hebrew and original language, and people who aren't familiar with it, it may have looked and sounded like a bunch of blah 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 to them, right? So I can get and I can understand exactly what he was saying, and the points he brought out with the research, it was actually true, because truly the word homosexual is a fairly recent word, right? But I think it was although, listen, y'all hear me talk about it all the time, like, technically what you said was true. Not what you said, the gist of everything, but what you're pointing out is that this word didn't even exist. That is true. That is a recent word from another language, and that's not the word that was used in the original text. That's what he was talking about, right? So that's the main thing that he was pointing on. But a lot of people, and the way he presented it, I get what he was trying to say, but the inflections of his voice and how he raised his voice, it showed me that more was at play. Because if you watch the video, he has friends and people he know, and he kind of talked about the LGBTQ community and people who live homosexual lifestyles and the suicide rates, and he brought all of that stuff out, which I understand and I know. And it's horrible that people treat people different ways because of the lifestyle that they choose, right? Now, although I personally necessarily do not condone a homosexual lifestyle, right? Because I know what the scripture says, and although technically what he was saying, that the word homosexual was not used in the original text, technically that is right. But the word that was used still indicated that sexual relations between the same sex is wrong, right? Yahuwah does not condone that. He said this should not be done among his people. He said these are things that the other nations practice, right? And so this goes back to what I say all the time, right? Although, and what he did, he pulled out a lot of the scriptures, and he even used the eunuchs and stuff like that. And if you got the time to watch it with unbiasedness, right? Just watch it through if you can, if you got the time, just to see what he was saying and what he was bringing out. And technically, the research he brought out, if you understand, if you go back and double check it, it's true. He may have a couple typos in there with one of the scriptures he was showing, and I actually showed him that. He was talking about a scripture in Deuteronomy, but he had Deuteronomy at the top. Then he listed the scripture, which was from Leviticus, but what he showed on the screen was clearly from the chapter in Deuteronomy. So that's wrong. So somebody may use it as an argument point, like, you said it was this, but it's clearly this. You're trying to lead us astray. I could clearly tell just by watching the whole thing and what he was saying, I could tell that was a typo. But I let him know, here's a typo, but I could clearly tell because he put it, the scriptures 22 all the way to 27 was specifically from Deuteronomy, that particular chapter, and that's what he showed on the screen. It was just because he was going back and forth between Leviticus and Deuteronomy. It was a typo, right? He had the chapter and the verses right, but he just put Leviticus instead of Deuteronomy. But anybody, that's not a big thing. It's a typo, okay? Yeah. Hey, Natasha. Hey, girl, I ain't seen you in a while. Look, your reception must be good. Yeah. Yes, Natasha just popped in. I know because you follow Truth Unveiled. Yes, that's what we're talking about. Somebody asked a question. I had to end the other video because it started. He asked me a question. He look, yeah. He asked me about why I never expose somebody. I told him I'm not into exposing people, right? I'm into exposing lies and bringing out the truth. So my video just kind of shortened this up a little bit because I know my phone is about to die from Facebook. Guys, if it died and I'm still running my mouth, just hop over to the YouTube link, right? Hop on over to YouTube. Matter of fact, let me just hold on, copy. I'll post I don't even think I can do it here. Okay, here's the link, just in case. Ooh, it won't let me do it. Okay, but what the video that I did, I didn't come down on him or anything, or what he believed, or tell him, oh, this is wrong and you can go to hell, and yes, homosexuality is a sin, which I seen a lot of people doing that after they saw his video. I'm like, ooh, let me go back and watch this, because I'm like, let me watch it unbiased and just go through and see exactly what he was saying, right? So after you watch it, there is no doubt that what he is trying, what his research was conveying to you was true, but the intones and inflection and what he was saying, it also was saying that he doesn't, let me not put words in his mouth. Here's where it was like kind of like not scratchy, but what he was saying was that he was likening eunuchs. He was talking about the 144,000 virgins, which I had to explain that this was not talking about actual sexual intercourse and people who have actually had sex or not had sex. The 144,000 virgins. That referred to actually Israel, men and women, just like he refers to Israel as his bride in female form, but we clearly know Israel is comprised of men and women, just like the 144,000 virgins. It's comprised of men and women of Israel, and it wasn't actually talking about sex. It was talking about being defiled by the doctrines and the ways of the other nations, right? That's why he calls Israel his virgin daughter, right? So the 144,000 virgins are those who keep to Yahuwah's law, statutes, and commands, who have not been defiled, tainted with the whore, right? With the great whore, the teachings of the great whore, who have drinking the wine of Babylon and the other pagan nations, turning them away from their one true lover, Yahuwah himself, right? So that's what that's talking about. So that's what I did. Instead of harping on some of the other things, I decided to give him information that he may not be missing it, but in the video he didn't present it. So I would just have to assume that he didn't know or didn't understand, or he's missing the information. So instead of harping on some of this, I said, if you understood this, this will automatically correct this. So instead of arguing about this, the whole homosexual thing, and if it's true or if it's wrong or if it's right, or if eunuchs are homosexual, let's correct this right here so you understand what this is, right? Your understanding of the 144,000 virgins, what that means, and that can be proven from the beginning to the end, as Yahuwah was constantly talking about it. We clearly understand that it's not talking about virgin men. Neither are these 144,000 men homosexuals, right? People who are drawn to the same sex but haven't necessarily committed the act, because that's what it was kind of saying as I was listening to him, right? Because he brought out a point. I'm not going to say it's a point. A point he was making was that the 144,000 virgins are eunuchs from birth. But his whole understanding of eunuchs from birth, he just kind of, to me, just kind of put some stuff together that didn't quite make sense based on truth that I understand and what eunuchs really are, right? Eunuchs can be eunuchs in a couple different ways. You can be a eunuch and you can choose to abstain from sex, but the definition of a true eunuch is someone who has been castrated, right? You no longer have your male parts, and he explained that. But where he went wrong at is talking about what eunuchs from birth were, and that's when he started bringing in a whole portion about he brought in some stuff about being men who are labeled effeminate or whatever, And just because they may be attracted to the same sex, they may not have acted it out, and because they didn't act it out or whatever, not that all of them like that are the 144,000, but some of the 144,000 are that type of category of men. And I cannot agree with that, right? Anybody who is a part of the 144,000, first of all, would not be tainted. You could have been previously, but if you were a part of the 144,000 at that point of being labeled that by Yah, you would have been delivered of all of these things, right? Meaning, remember, 144,000 virgins are untainted by the other nations. They are untainted, not tainted by the practices and the doctrines of the other pagan nations. They keep only to Yah's commands, and Yah says that I created man for woman and woman for man. Nature even teaches that. If Yahuwah wanted you to receive, he would have made you a woman. If he wanted you to give, he would have made you a man. That is proven when we are giving birth, right? Yahuwah doesn't give you a male body and give you a female spirit. Neither does he give you a female body and give you a male spirit. That goes against his whole modus operandi, how he operates. You can look at it in nature and prove that it is true. Everything that we base things on and we build things on is off of his model, whether people choose to give him glory and identify him as the original creator of such things or not, right? And that's the proper, healthy way of thinking. So that's it. The guy or girl, I'm not sure. Their picture is just unknown. And his question was, and you'll see that on the other video that I ended from this morning. The first one, he said, how come you never expose Truth Unveiled? And the second one, he was referring to the video that Truth Unveiled did. He said the whole video was a satanic lie. He's trying to extinct human beings, Yah's creation. Now, I want to talk about that a little bit. What he said what the person, just his comment, it can seem kind of harsh, right? Can't be. I'm not in the habit of, no matter what you're doing in life, I'm not in the habit of beating you down because you have a problem that you can't control right now, right? Some people think you're born that way. I don't believe that. Some people do. That's where you're at this point in time in life. Okay, that may change as you grow. It probably will change as you grow. But like I said, I wanted to point out some things, like I said, that he may have not known. And being a eunuch from birth, that is, like I explained in the other video, that is actually a physical condition. You can literally be a eunuch from birth, right? It's called penile agenesis and testicular agenesis, meaning that your penis, the penis agenesis, your penis didn't fully develop. And what happens is it doesn't come out like a normal penis would, where it's outside. It actually just kind of stays in. And the urethra is actually down by the butt. So you would actually have to sit down like a woman to pee. You would still be able to pee. You just don't have your penis fully developed where you should pee appropriately, like a man whose penis is fully developed is. That is a true condition. Same thing with the testes. They don't fully develop, but that is a real live physical condition in males, which it literally makes them eunuchs from birth. They are literally born that way. As for people who are being who say being a homosexual, that's something you can actually be born that way. It goes against the order of nature. It's impossible. You can look at the different species of plants, even in the animal kingdom. It doesn't happen. It's impossible. Like I said, we don't control any of these things, right? When Yahuwah set up, he set up the whole order of everything, right? We control none of that. We don't give ourselves our spirits. We don't give ourselves our bodies. He causes that to happen. And once we're in possession of it, when we're born, we just kind of have to operate the machinery according to manual, right? And sometimes it's not taught. Sometimes it's not common sense to most people, because some things that are common sense to us may not be so common to other people, depending on how they grew up, their surroundings, their atmosphere. You see what I'm saying? So some people can grow up thinking, oh, you're born this way. If you grow up in an atmosphere where this is a common thing, so your outlook on life and what things are supposed to be are going to be different from somebody else who's growing up in a different type of environment, right? And that can be proven with anything, with any race of people in a group. There are different experiments that have that same premises that can show you that this principle is literally your environment that you grew up in, right? And so he kind of got into some of the other things about how people feel inside and growing up and not being able to come out and be who they truly are and stuff, and talking about how some people is because of some trauma that they had in life which caused them to be that way or made them to be that way, but some people just always felt this way from birth. It goes against the natural order of things, and those people that say that, I cannot negate their feelings. There is a reason why they feel that way. I'm not a medical doctor. I'm not y'all, but I understand y'all's natural way of his course of life and things that he has set in order appropriately, right? And you can tell, you can simply test that principle. I'm not going to argue with you and say that your feelings are wrong, because those are your feelings and you feel that way. And I feel bad for people who have caught the short end of the stick because they've run into human beings who have no truth, no honor about themselves whatsoever, and they live to terrorize other people. That should not be, right? Because we all have things and issues that we deal with. You know, one of my issues I dealt with was food addiction. Some people may be addicted to crack. Some people are addicted to sex. Some people are addicted to porn. People have issues with different things. It doesn't make you better because your addiction is not crack, but your addiction is food. It's gonna lead you both to the grave. You keep on with it long enough. You see what I'm saying? Right? But you can simply test principles, right? Everything that Yahuwah has created, he creates with a purpose, right? And you can take something that was designed for one thing, and sure, you can use it to do something else. That doesn't mean that you're using it appropriately. I can take a fork. A fork was designed for us to eat our food. I could take that same fork and I can use it to stab you in your hand, right? I could use it for that. I really could, but it doesn't make it the proper use of why it was created. I can use it for whatever I want to do, right? I could take a knife and stick it into a socket. That doesn't mean that it's the proper use of it. Yes, I can do that. I can use it to unscrew a flathead, but that's not the proper use of that. There's a tool designed for that, just like male and female. A man can take his penis and stick it into the butt of another man, but it doesn't make it correct. Matter of fact, you can stick it into the butt of a woman. It may feel good, but that's not why either of those were created. Because the outcome of, you can look at the consequences of doing something and tell, yes, this is right, or no, this is wrong. And it doesn't matter whether a man is doing it to a man or a man is doing it to a woman. You're not supposed to do it to either of them. It doesn't matter if it's a male being with a woman and sticking his penis into the butt of a woman is wrong. How do we know it's wrong? Because the buttocks does not lubricate itself, right? You're gonna tear something up. Ask me how I know that. I know because somebody told me about it. Look, no. Listen, the penis was designed to go inside of the self-lubricating vagina, right? It lubricates all by itself. Yahuwah designed it to be that way, right? Everything has a proper purpose, right? And when the penis is inserted into the vagina, they go on to climax. The semen that comes out of the male's penis goes into the woman, travels up the, through the cervix, fallopian tubes, into the ovaries, creates a baby. And if you use your penis to insert it from the other end, what becomes of that? Nothing. No life comes of that. You actually get problems. Like I said, you can rip up stuff because there's no lubrication. You can use other lubrication, Vaseline, actual lubrication that they make for sex acts. You can use that. And it can feel good for a moment, but the person who's on the receiving end of that is going to start experiencing some health problems. If it was natural and if it was okay for a man or a woman, then why do we start having health problems? Why did this start? Now the muscles that are in your butt to keep your cheeks tight, to keep you from passing gas all willy-nilly, now that's gone. You can't control that, it's a lot of things that begin to happen. So we can't, in all actuality, with good common sense and understanding, even if you want to go test, I'm not telling you should go test that, but I'm just telling you from previous research that this is unnatural. It's unnatural. So like I said, everything we can test, right? So you don't necessarily need to come down on people who are living that lifestyle. They know that's the lifestyle they live, right? When the sex act is created for the purpose of reproduction, and Yahuwah just happened to make it extremely enjoyable, right? And it should be. It's extremely enjoyable for all species of people. It's just the human race. We have intellect, and we have the ability to speak, and we have the ability to create such a awesome romantic atmosphere while we're going through this war and process the foreplay, and it makes it extremely enjoyable. It makes it extremely desirable. We have the ability to do that, but it doesn't mean we do. We have free will. We can do whatever the heck we want to do, right? But there's consequences to using things the wrong way. So that's my approach I take with those who live that lifestyle. Okay, that's what you choose to do, but in order for you to have children, if you want children, that type of relationship will not produce children for you. Either you're going to have to step outside of that lifestyle and you're going to actually have to do it the right way, or you're going to have to go to a clinic and have somebody insert sperm into you, or if it's two men, you're going to have a woman carry the child. For one, you're going to have to get her pregnant, or you're going to have to go to the clinic. If you don't want to do it the natural way, you're going to have to give your sperm to the clinic. She's going to have to be there for the operation to take it, and you're going to have to adopt. You're going to have to, you see what I'm saying? So we can just look at those things and see, okay, let's actually sit here and look at this before arguing with people. Just do your own diligent research. Okay, this is this. Okay, so this is not natural. It ends in nothing. And so you can also look at it, if the world was full of couples that believe homosexuality was right. Say all the heterosexual people died out, right? Say there was nothing but homosexual couples on the earth. And how many generations would the earth be completely devoid of all human beings? First of all, that would be the last generation. There wouldn't be any more generations after that. So after everybody in that generation died out, that's it. There's no more reproduction. That's not natural. Yahuwah say, I come to give life, and life more abundantly. So that's the approach I like to take. And I'm not sure if the guy or the girl, whoever the person with the tag unknown who posted the question on the last video, if you're still here, but that's my take on it, so I'm not going to come down on him because he might have some information that seems off to me. I really love Chris. I really do. I've learned so much from his channel. He's a really good researcher. He's very thorough.